and welcome to Back to the Future. Today we're doing the Renaissance, and I kinda like the Renaissance. A couple of weeks ago, I went to Stratford-upon-Avon, and I met this lovely lady.
Powerful trouble, like a hell broth, boil and bubble, double, boil and trouble.
Because as we all know, Renaissance means Shakespeare, and Shakespeare means plays and history and art. And the Renaissance has a lot of art and science. Now today I won't talk that much about Shakespeare because I've chosen a different book. Yay! But I will talk a bit about the Renaissance first. And you know it's Shakespeare. Shakespeare's like the symbol of the Renaissance, along with Leonardo da Vinci, Michelangelo, Galileo Galilei, and all those big artists and scientists. And today's object of my affection was also some kind of scientist. Her name was Margaret Cavendish, the Duchess of Newcastle-upon-Tyne. She lived in this period where they had the rebirth of the classic art and history and ideals. Basically, because in the Middle Ages everything was a bit dark, they were scared of like these mythical creatures, it was all but now it was hey! As you can see, I'm really good at explaining. But the Renaissance was like this light period of time. Because of the printing press, more people had access to books, more people knew how to read. You had this amazing enlightenment coming up. The science was quite big, and Margaret Cavendish, aka the Duchess of Newcastle-upon-Tyne, was one of them. She was one of the first female authors who published novels under her own name. She did not use a pen name, she did not use like a male name, and she did not use her husband's name, though because her husband was quite rich, famous and entitled, she got this opportunity that few other women had. And she was really interested in natural science and philosophy. She just disregarded the mechanical philosophy and went her own way. She was against animal testing, so she was like a pioneer for them. And she knew she wasn't a brilliant wordmaster. She was no Shakespeare and she knew it, but her goal was to write precise directness over elegance. The book The Blazing World came out in 1666, which is really late Renaissance. It is a satirical view of this utopian kingdom. Now, I'm gonna spoil a bit, but I'm not gonna spoil everything. So, even though I do tell you a lot of the plot, I won't tell too much. And there's not much to be spoiled anyway. This is seen as one of the first sci-fi novels, which is amazing. 1666 by a woman. Sci-fi. Just let that sink in a bit. It's also a romance, it's an adventure story, and it's almost a bit of an autobiography from her part. I'll more to that later. This whole book is about this utopian kingdom in another world, in a parallel universe, so to speak. A young lady is being kidnapped, and she is taken hostage on a boat. The boat drifts away because the gods feel sorry for her. She reaches the North Pole and she gets sucked in to a different universe. There she's found by an emperor, and she marries the emperor, become empress of this blazing world. The whole first half of this book is about her discovering what's new in this world. She talks about the sciences, because this world has like bearmen, antmen, it has all this sort of animals, and all of them have their own responsibility in the sciences and philosophy. And she talks to them, and she tells them they're wrong, because she learned something else in her own world. But because the skies and stars are different than what she's used to, it's not always that she's right. And when she wrote it, it was a bit like quite her science wasn't exactly exact, but sometimes she's spot on. Amazing. Now it gets confusing because the protagonist, the Empress, meets Margaret Cavendish. She wrote herself into the story. How cool is that? She becomes the Emperor's best friend and, you know, companion in all this madness. Amazing! This is where the autobiography part comes in, because she writes it herself as the Duchess of Newcastle-upon-Tyne, and she writes herself really witty. And her husband, she writes in her husband, writes in her entire life. and it's like this wild manic daydream. Now they go out together, they go to plays, because they sort of, I want to say, like, instead of couch surfing, they soul surf. They take possession of other people's bodies, their souls crosses the dimensions, and how she goes back and meet Margaret Cavendish, because that's in a different dimension. So her soul sort of just like jumps into another person. It's weird. And I'm not gonna talk too much about what happens after that, because that is when the action begins. I really think you should read this book because it's amazing. It's so Renaissance in what it does, in both the science, in the way it's written, in the culture, because there's so much culture and art and the social sciences in this book. And you learn a lot, but you, of course, you learn from her point of view, from quite a privileged woman at the time. But then again, woman. I think it's amazing that one of the first sci-fi books ever written, it was written by a woman. And I've talked about this before on this channel, that how amazing I found it. And it's not well written. I'm not gonna lie, I'm not gonna say this is a masterpiece, because it's not. I first read a short story she wrote, and I couldn't finish it because I felt it was so horrid in its writing. But she knew this. She was perfectly aware that she wasn't a good writer. She just wanted to contribute to the society. She wrote a lot of philosophical texts, and they were all locked in because she wanted the world to remember her as a philosopher and a scientist. She had guts, and she's so cool. I wish I could meet her. So in the mix of all this classical rebirth party that is the Renaissance, we have Margaret Cavendish and her sci-fi, which is totally different from Much Ado About Nothing. Like, really, it's nothing like Shakespeare at all. But it's one of my favourite books from the Renaissance. Other books that I almost brought into this Renaissance party was Utopia by Thomas More. I do, as I've talked about this so many times, but Titus Andronicus by Shakespeare. Wonderful play. Dr. Faustus by Christopher Marlowe is amazing, and it also goes nicely with the Divine Comedy, which I talked about last week. And of course, one of the best books ever written, Paradise Lost by Milton. Now, I feel I'm being judged just from saying this, and I am in class as well. But I like Paradise Lost. I am seduced by Satan on a regular basis, but it doesn't last very long. Hopefully you want to read The Blazing World by Margaret Cavendish now. It is an amazing book, and I do hope you take the time to read it, because I love it. And if you have, please let me know down below what you think of it. Let me know what you think about Renaissance as a whole. Is there any books that you love that I haven't mentioned? What's your favourite fun fact about Renaissance? I can't wait to hear from you. Like, share, subscribe and all that jazz, and I'll see ya soon. Bye!